Hello, beautiful ladies. Welcome to 2024. This is my first guest episode of 2024, and I am so excited to bring you Ophira Edut, but we call her Ophi for short. I've never actually said your name out loud. Your full name, Ophi. So you're just Ophi. You're Ophi to us.
And you made it through.
I made it through it. I have known Ophi for a little over a year, and she's amazing. And why? She is an astrologer, and she is part of the AstroTwins duo with her identical twin sister, Tally. So I just love this. And as a mother of twin girls, I just love it, like to the moon and back, that two twins sisters are in business together. But why Ophi she is the first guest of 2024 because she is going to help us plan our year by the stars and tell us how we can use astrology to plan for our career, for personal life, health, wealth, and happiness, relationships, and all the things. She and her sister, as the Astro Twins, are also astrologers to the stars. She will tell us all about that. They've got some very fancy clients. They are the official astrologers for Elle magazine. They are best-selling authors, and she's going to tell us about a book that she just released at the end of last year. And there's a shiny new book coming out the end of this year. And they have just launched the AstroTwins network. So there is so much support out there for us ladies to plan our lives by the stars. And I'm a huge proponent of astrology, and I'm going to have Ophi break it all down for if there's any naysayers out there and you go like, oh my God, that's a bunch of hooey. It is not hooey, honeys. We're going to use it to our advantage so we can thrive in all aspects of our life this year. So with all of that, Ophi, welcome to the show. I am so incredibly excited to have you here today.
Oh, me too. I love it. So happy 2024, everyone. New year. And yeah, let's dive in. And by the way, it's fine if you think astrology is hooey because a lot of the way it's been presented is. And I thought it was too when I first encountered it. So nobody has to believe anything.
Right. But so actually, you know what? Let's start here, because when we were talking earlier, I'm like, I guess astrology is probably not a major in college. And having just gone through the college application process, I didn't see one. I didn't see astrology as a major going through this process with my son. So tell me, or tell us, I should say, a bit about your background and how you and Tally decided to go into astrology and do everything that you're doing today.
Yeah, and full circle back to college because when I was in college, I was a little intrigued. I'd see my horoscope. I was like, well, this is true about me. But my college boyfriend got me my full birth chart made when I was 21 as a gift. And it was this 30-page document that there was just no way that like a computer generated printout could know that much accurately about me. So I am a skeptic too. I mean, I was a straight A student. I went to art school, but I almost went to engineering school. So I have more of a mathematical, scientific mind, which, by the way, astrology is mathematical. But I couldn't deny that there was something to it. And in addition, it made sense out of all these parts. Like, I didn't realize that I'd been stumbling along through life just trying to belong or understand which parts of me made sense and why, and all the contradictions and complexities. And then this chart explained all of that because it explained all of the different planets in my birth chart, which we'll talk about what that all means, and then how they worked together. So there was this map and all these things that I thought were wrong with me, I found out were right about me. I was lucky enough to get that when I was 21. Now I'm 51. So having this advantage for 30 years has allowed me to do all the things that you listed and accomplish all those things because I haven't been trapped in this cul-de-sac of uncertainty.
Ooh, I love this. And I know I had my birth chart done, oh God, too long ago, and I'm due for that. So I'll have to get on your schedule so we could do that.
Yeah.
I want to say it was 7-8 years ago, and it was when I was going through. Everyone on the show has heard me go through when I kind of went through my own midlife crisis and everything was kind of breaking down. And I had seen somebody kind of exactly saying what you just said, like how this was so accurate, how she was planning her life by it and all that. I'm like, well, what have I got to lose? I was throwing everything at my life at that point, like a retreats, this, that, and the other. I'm like, I need all the
Right.
things. And this wonderful astrologer, she basically, I freaked out. She told me my life with like 99.9% accuracy of everything that was going on. And it actually spurred me into seeing some doctors for my health and different things that were going on. It helped me evaluate relationships that were draining me. I mean, it was insane. She forecasted what I was meant to do, and it planted a seed of things that I'm doing today. It was unbelievable, Ophi. So
Yeah.
we're gonna get into all of it. So why don't we just go through what astrology is?
Mhm.
Because we all, a lot of us listening are like, oh yeah, it's like the little blurb in the newspaper, the little thing, and there's all the astrologers all over the interwebs going, this and that. And people don't think that it's actually applicable to their lives, or it's just kind of a one size fits all. And it's not a one size fits all, because you can get really granular based
Right.
on your sign and rising signs and all that kind of good stuff. So let's do a little astrology 101 for
Mhm.
my listeners.
Yeah. Well, the simple answer, what is astrology, is it's a technology. It's a tool. It's not a belief system. That's why you won't find it as a college major, because you can't major in calculators. You major in math, So you'd major in, I don't know, modern religions maybe, or, astronomy, but you can't major in astrology. Although there is an entire in-depth thing you can learn for the rest of your life, and I will be, but it should be thought of as almost like the chat GPT for your soul. Like, human beings, we don't have all the answers inside of us. And it's really confusing. And we need help to be human, and to get through this life. And so here's this roadmap. And we use those all the time. It's like we use Siri, we use Alexa, we use a can opener. Some people use astrology, not to oversimplify it, but that's how I think of it, like something you can reach for when you're stuck and need to make a decision. So, but how it works is that what you read in the newspaper is what's called your sun sign horoscope. It's where the sun, where astrology as we use it is like, imagine you're lying on your back on a blanket in a field looking up at the skies, and you drew an imaginary circle overhead and sliced up the sky into 12 pieces like a pizza. Um, and then you looked at where the planets and their movement around the sun were arranged from your view on Earth. That's what that circle, that wheel with all the hieroglyphics is. It's like the view of the sky overhead from where you were born. So your chart is like this screenshot of the sky, on your day of birth, and that becomes the blueprint or the roadmap or the factory settings for yourself. This kind of, now that doesn't mean you don't have free will. You have all the free will you want, but it's like if you buy an Android or an iPhone, it's your operating system. You can't expect an Android to be an iPhone, but you can still do a lot of stuff within the boundaries of it being an Android, for example. You can customize it. So your chart does not determine your entire life. I think that's why a lot of people roll their eyes at it. They're like, you're telling me that this piece of paper and my birthday means that I'm just this way and I can't be any other way. Well, no, not at all. So, but it's very helpful to have this guide to yourself. So that's what astrology, when I think it's used right, is.
So, and I know from personal experience, having heard you speak and talk about themes and just, following you. And, I was telling you before we got on that you had some predictions, some kind of sweeping prediction, not predictions, but what would you even say? So,
Yeah.
I guess predictions for sort of through
Yeah.
the end of the year. And I was telling you before we got on here that I'm a water sign, I'm a Scorpio, that for us, the water signs, that we have like one big, if we can grasp onto it, one big sort of business push, like career wise push, and to kind of dig in and go for it. And that can reap all these rewards. Or I'm not totally quoting you like exactly what you said, but that it's something I'm actually in right now. And I was like, ooh, that just made me sort of double down going, oh, it's in my chart. Like this is all making sense.
Yes.
And then knowing too, with something else you had said on the channel on AstroTwins, that sort of these last 2 years, right, have been a bit of like a retrenching and everyone kind of digging in. And then we're kind of coming out of this to kind of see the fruits of our labor. So I love all of that because it can help us reorient or kind of put some context or some extra added sort of reason for being of why we're doing what we're doing. So do you work with, like, who do you work with? Do you work, I know you work with celebrities, do you work with business leaders, do you work with
Oh
companies? Like,
yeah.
how do you implement astrology? You know, because it's for a lot of us, it's kind of out there into sort of the practical to help us
Hmm.
all plan. And let's just start
Yeah.
with business.
That's a really good point. So, and I'm glad you asked that because there really are two primary uses for astrology. One is to understand yourself, that chart, that roadmap to you, or even just knowing your sign. And then there's the timing and predictive. So, your chart never changes. It's like a freeze frame of that moment in time that you incarnated. But the planets are always moving. So, what we do when we do predictions is we measure the moving planets and the angles that they form to your zodiac sign as a Scorpio, or your whole chart. So when it's almost when planets connect with each other, excuse me, it will set off like a period of opportunity. So I could say, all right, Jupiter, the planet of luck, changes signs every year. This year it's been in Taurus, and Taurus rules the relationship house for Scorpio. That's you. So I would say, this year maybe you should put some energy into partnerships and be lucky. You could be lucky with partnerships, or you could grow in partnerships, or you might outgrow a partnership. It's very much a puzzle. You go, this is here, this is there, this is who they are, this is what's happening in the sky. How does that correlate? And then you have to be knowledgeable about a lot of different things to give good advice. To say like how you might apply that is this, and that. A lot of astrologers forget to give the practical application and give all the jargon, and then the person who's listening is like, cool, what did you just say? So it still has a little bit of a marketing problem because it is its own language, but I really try very rigorously to make it clear. So I am working with a lot of business leaders. I just started experimenting with private coaching with a few people and guiding them week by week and helping them change their businesses and their habits in their business and their org charts, and looking even in their analytics dashboards and seeing what's there and how that correlates with their charts too. Like very much going in the nitty gritty, like, all right, for this month, we need to get your operations in place. And then in February is a good time for taking your investor pitch deck out, and this type of investor will be, so you can get granular in a way so I am guiding people in like scaling their businesses or figuring out where to put their energy. I love it. It's so fun.
What I love about this as a tool is that, and I've done human design and a bunch of other things, that
That too.
understanding how you are and how you operate, I just think everyone should have that understanding, because a lot of us, everyone beats their head against a wall, and we wonder why things sometimes are so hard, or why sometimes things flow. And
Yep.
I think there's this underpinning of understanding who we are and how we operate at the bare minimum, and then to pick certain times of when things should happen. And I think it's got to give a lot of relief, because if you're in that flow and knowing that this is the time to do something, then you know it's the right time to do something, versus we've all done something, a launch or a relationship or whatever it is, and it hasn't felt right. And you're
Exactly.
like, why doesn't it feel right? It's felt right before, but sometimes it doesn't feel right. Other times, if this is, you're just making me think out loud, that times when you've had like an inspiration to go for it and do something, it's tied into probably the start. We just didn't even know it, right? It was tied
Oh, a
into the
lot of the
start.
times your intuition is validated. Like most people aren't. I would even say if you have an astrology reading and someone tells you something that doesn't feel right, just ask yourself if it's because you're upset and resisting the advice, but kind of know that it's probably right, or if it feels wrong. Because if it feels wrong, don't ever do it, no matter who's telling you, or at least ask them to explain why. I mean, I've had to launch things during Mercury retrograde. I did a TV show. It was it's called Cosmic Love. We did with Amazon Prime, and I had no control over the schedule. So it was a matchmaking bachelor meets astrology show. And the filming started literally when Mercury turned retrograde in Libra, the sign of marriage. I was like, all right, guys, this isn't just a gimmick. We should be using astrology for our filming schedule, but we can't. So we have to work around it. And of course, all the things that would be expected to happen. But I was prepared. I wasn't surprised when there was a mudslide that and a rock totaled the executive producer's car. I think it was during like a full moon, and it's like, all right, well, listen to your astrologers. We're not just gimmicks here, people. So
Right. That's a hysterical it's like listen to the astrologer at the show that's actually using astrology. Yeah, the Mercury retrograde thing is really interesting. I remember with a client many moons ago, we were at like Whole Foods. Whole Foods was my client, and everything was going wrong, and we were like, is Mercury in retrograde? And we looked, and it was. We're like, oh, thank God.
It's not us. It's not us.
It's not us. We needed to we're not going to go pack it in. I want to get into like a lot of the predictions and things for 2024 and for the year and how we can really sink in. And I know you love to pick a theme. So if you're heard you talk about 2023, so what is the overall sort of theme for 2024 and what can we expect?
Yeah. So we make a theme based on all of the influences, kind of putting them in a stew and like what bubbles up to the surface. So 2023 we call the year of what if. You can say what if two different ways, like what if for curiosity, or like what if in fear. So people really toggled between fear and wonder in 2023, and they did. I felt like that happened a lot. 2024, we've named the year of transcendent leadership. So, which is perfect because it's year of the dragon. Happens every 12 years. That was Y2K 2012, which was like the Mayan calendar ending, supposedly the end of the world as we know it. And now we have 2024. And so it's a dragon year. It's an 8-year in numerology, meaning you add up all the digits, 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 4. It makes an 8, which is a number of power. And then there are a lot of other planetary things happening. So it's a year for us to find the leader within ourselves instead of waiting for someone to show up passively who's a good enough leader, like being that leader in micro and macro ways wherever you can.
Ooh, I love that. I love that. And I'm particularly interested, of course, in, women and all women rising. And I've been seeing that. So I think ladies, this is your permission.
Exactly. It's our time. Be that dragon.
Oh God, I love that. I want to really explore that. As far as before we get into kind of predictions like by sign, and I know that's a lot because there's 12 signs. How can women use astrology to plan for career, finances, health, wealth, relationships, and things of that nature if they don't have their own personal astrologer? How can they access this information and then use it to plan accordingly based on what they want to accomplish this year?
Well, you can use your sun sign. And luckily, we have these books that we did this year. Our 2024 book, we also broke up into 12 different signs. We made them planetary planners, as we call. So this has every single day, monthly forecasts, like how you can literally plan by the moon phases. Like we really did break it down into a practical, smart, successful, busy person's resource. So you can grab it for your sign. And then you can just check every day. We have these hot spot dates that we pull out every month because not every single day is an action day. So we zoom in on the most important days of the month. And this year we have a special thing that comes as a bonus with the book that this is my nerdy pride and joy. Like it will populate your Google Cal or your iCal with all of those hotspot dates. So you get an alert whenever there is one of those dates, and you can go to your planner and check what it means. So really, like, I mean, the one thing that women don't get is spaciousness. Like, this is a personal crusade, but like, I know so many women who in their homes, they have the only room that doesn't have a door, for example. Like, for some reason, like, especially if you're a mom, there's this unspoken thing like you're not allowed to have your own space. Like, I hope you do. And I hope that if you are a woman listening to this, that that is not your story, but I've just heard it so many times. So we need to create breathing room and space for ourselves, and having the whole year mapped out so you can plan ahead and pick all those dates for yourself. You can do it for your whole family too. If you're the planner of the family, we have our big book that has all 12 signs in it. Yeah, just getting ahead of the curve it's everything. So that's my answer to that.
You made me think of something too, which is so many women listening, and I've got my own 3 kids. How can, I'm assuming, I'm not going to say how can, I'm assuming that understanding our kids' signs will help us parent them better.
Absolutely. I have a book called Mom Astrology that I wrote 10 years ago. It's still out there. And I know it's not, I don't know why. It's just, I guess because it was 10 years ago, but people still go like, oh my God, this is my Bible for my kids. It's got about the kids of every sign and the moms of every sign and how they can work together. Because a lot of the times, as a mom of multiple kids, that well, you've got twins, so 2 of them are the same sign, but what worked for the first one, you think, oh, that was easy, I'll just have another one, or my first one was so hard, I don't know if I'll have another one, and the next one is easy. It's like we look for like the ultimate cookie cutter advice for parenting, but there is none because every child is different. So it's a manual to parenting your kids by their star sign and their strengths and weaknesses and challenges, and while also honoring who you are as a mom too. Like, all right, I don't know what signs your kids are. I know you're a Scorpio.
July 18 and July 25. So they are Cancer and Leo. Yeah.
Which are very different because the Cancer is more like clingy to mom or a little grouchy and moody, whereas the Leos are like the beam of sunshine, look at me kind of kids a lot of the time. So want to play, the Cancer gets their feelings hurt, so things like that. Like maybe when, a Cancer skins their knee, you have to like, well, actually, they're pretty tough, I have to say, but they, but you don't want to over coddle them. Whereas the Leo needs to feel praised or whatever for trying. So we gave a lot of that type of advice. It is very helpful to have this guide.
I love it. It's just making me think about, all the companies, I remember when I haven't worked for anyone for over 20 years, but most companies I was at, you had to take personality assessments and all these things, or how can we work together? And I know companies are using human design, like all these different things. I'm like, why don't we do that with our own families so we can understand how to better manage the people in our house?
It's so funny that
partners.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's so funny that companies use human design because it is astrology with even more than astrology in it, but it's pulls from astrology. Well, that's what my book in the fall is going to be all about, as you know.
Oh, we have so many things, and ladies, don't never fear. We're gonna have all the links in the show notes for all of these helpful hints that Ophi is dropping on us. I'm definitely going to be running to get my Scorpio planners so I can plan out this year. My God. So let's dig into the year by sign. I know there's 12 signs, so it's going to be a lot, but I think it would be really wonderful to kind of hear, like, what are the big themes for every sign for this year?
Yeah. And what's great is that in each of these books, we have the top 5 themes for every sign already broken down. So you can just open right up to it and know what your focal points are. I feel like you need the big focus before you can get granular. Like, what am I even rooting and anchoring myself in here? What are the themes? So, but I'm going to tell like the top opportunity theme for every sign. That's guided for me by Jupiter. Jupiter is in Taurus for the first half of the year and then Gemini for the second half. So it really neatly divides the year in 2024. And Jupiter is where we will grow and can try new things and take risks. And I think since this is, the beginning of the year, it's a great time to be optimistic and positive and take those risks. We're freer to do that. So let's work with Jupiter. So for Aries, the first sign, it's a year, Jupiter, the first half of the year is about taking risks with money and your job, like asking for that raise, that promotion, raising your rates, or looking where your job and finances might be stagnant. Maybe you're doing too much of the same thing and need to branch out of your comfort zone. And then the second half of the year is about new communities, friendships, marketing yourself, working on your messaging, looking at how you communicate and who the people are around you. So for Taurus, this is got lucky Jupiter in your sign that happens every 12 years. So really, Tauruses are not always prone to change, but really opening yourself up to trying, doing things differently, putting yourself out there, exploring new facets of yourself, like shed the old, like be willing to start from scratch instead of clinging to the old way of doing things. And then the second half of the year is good for money. And whatever discoveries and experiments you make in the first half of the year, you can monetize or start to build into something. I feel like people would want to, most of your people probably are at least entrepreneurial here or interested in, how they can develop something that they love to do for a living, right? So Gemini, I'll be honest, Jupiter and Taurus has been difficult for you. So every 12 years when Jupiter is in the sign that's before yours, it's this end of a cycle before Jupiter comes back to your sign. So there's always one zodiac sign that I have to have the same sit down and let's have this talk, honey, moment with. And it's like, look, you're going to try to force things to happen and they're not going to. And your human machinery is going to have a huge spiritual temper tantrum. And then one day you're going to just fricking surrender and all this magic is going to happen. But you're likely to waste 6 months kicking and screaming and being upset about it. So let me tell you, you don't have to do that, but they'll go and do it anyway. So Geminis, I hope you're done with those 6 months now and you're ready to just float and allow and just enjoy until May 25th, a spiritual sabbatical. Just get some spirituality, do some emotional work, do some healing, get the therapies, all the things, and just, you're in the cocoon. But when Jupiter goes into Gemini, May 25th for a year, butterfly time is here. The lights come back on. This new 12-year chapter of your life starts. So trust me, it's all going to be okay. That they get the longest one because I know how they're suffering. Do you have any Geminis around you?
No.
Okay.
Not in this house. Nope.
Cancer, it's a really good social and networking first half of the year. So get out of that crab shell and go meet some people, go to the events, Cancers can be very social and popular actually, and even alpha female-ish. Like you hear that they're shy. They're actually not. But they can be armored. So try to let your guard down a little bit. And then you get that transitional year in the second half of the year. You may be better with it than Geminis because you're like, ooh, I get to go hide in my cocoon. Great. That's where I'm happiest anyway. So releasing, do the spiritual work, go on a retreat, work on the project you've been putting off forever. But first go hang out with all your new friends. Leos, it's really baller career first half of the year for you. So you are the transcendent leaders we've been waiting for. Leo's just really stepping up and leading the way and showing us how it's done. Good. You got to have more structure in your life if you're a Leo, though. They don't need any convincing to be in charge. And then the second half of the year, very good for networking and friendships and groups. And maybe you can help those election voter registration drives to ensure that we don't end up with horrific president again, although I don't know if that's possible. But transcendent leadership, you're the one we've been waiting for. Virgos, very un-Virgo like year. You are suddenly this like free-spirited nomadic traveler who is optimistic instead of like picking hairs and lint off of everyone's sweater and tucking their tags in that are sticking out. I don't know a single Virgo that doesn't do that, and you have been seen. So instead of focusing on all the little micro details, you're like, life is beautiful. So pack your bags and go travel, and then you have a really good career period in the second half of the year if you're a Virgo. So get your fun out because you might be more settled in at the office or more stationary later in 2024. Libras. Libras have a very sort of internal time, and the karmic south node is in Libra all year long. So Libras are a little bit underground. That's not a bad thing because they can be sometimes a little out there among the people too much. So Libras kind of just stay connected to your deeper emotions that you sometimes run away from. Good year for therapy. And then the second half of the year, you get to travel and see the world and emerge with this newfound wisdom and perspective and optimism. Now, Scorpio, you, as I indicated, are freed from a couple of years of, you had the South Node in Scorpio until this July of 2023. So Scorpios just had their dark night of the soul lifting halfway through 2023. And this 2024 is all about powerful partnerships for you, alliances, teaming up with, someone whose skills complement yours, an investor in the second half of the year, someone who helps you grow, or also good year for real estate deals, second half of the year, buying or selling or renovating a home, investing in something. It'll be college for you, I guess, but or just making a good joint venture investment. So Sagittarius, it's also a very sort of out of character year. Like Virgos and Sagittarians have sort of traded personalities. Now, Sages, we're the ones who are like, usually all over the place, all into all the big ideas. And we're here like, just like, let's simplify, let's be healthy and get everything organized in our lives. It's a very streamlined and nerdy time, which every Sag can benefit from. And then the second half of the year is very good for partnerships and alliances, romantic, business, whichever one you want, or both. So yes, I do really keep this all in my head in case you're wondering.
I'm impressed. She's not looking at any note cards, guys. This is all coming out like, yeah, this is flowing. I love it.
Been doing this for years. So Capricorn, you get to they're also out of character. Like it's the first half of the year is like romance and passion and playfulness and letting that wild side that you tend to lock up come out, being colorful, fanning your feathers, like having a wild torrid affair, or debuting your creative talents and performing. A lot of Capricorns are very artistically talented, but they tend to like end up being the creative directors or like trying to control and mold it. Like let it all hang out. And then you can craft and refine everything in the second half of the year, but let that raw passion come out and take a risk creatively. Pregnancy too for Capricorns who are looking to expand their families. It's a fertile year for the Caps, and also for the Aquarians. Aquarius has a very domestic first half of the year. Aquarius tends to be more nomadic and all over the place, but home is really, you might buy a home, you might have kids, you might have an empty nest, you might just be more rooted and explore your emotions. Aquarians tend to avoid their emotions until they don't have to anymore, but partnering with your emotions, more self-care. And then you get to have all the fun and wildness, which is much more your thing in the second half of 2024. And last but not least, Pisces. Pisces have a special case because, oh, I should also say that Aquarius, you have Pluto going into your sign, really starting a 20-year cycle through your sign. So we are officially entering the age of Aquarius. You're going to be the transformational leaders also, along with the Leos that we meet. And Pisces also have a special case because Saturn, which gives us structure, discipline, and leadership, has been in Pisces since March 2023. It's there till February 2026. So Pisces can be like all over the place, flowy, and they're getting all this structure. So you might have felt like things were a little restrictive, like wearing like a too tight shirt or something for the, or a straight jacket maybe for the past year, but you're really growing from that. You know, your Pisces sometimes don't get taken as seriously as they deserve to be because they're so changey, flowy. And so now you're realizing like that you do have the authority that you do and the expertise, and you can trust yourself. So yeah, so it's a really great time to work on your messaging and how you present yourself and how you communicate. And then you have a nice home and family second half of the year and anchoring, which Pisces love. And that's the Zodiac for 2024.
Wow, all off the cuff, all out of your brain and into our ears. I am fascinated by all of this, and I'm so excited by it. And I think, one of the things I'm always preaching is, especially with women in midlife who listen to this, it's the time to really dig into yourself and make this kind of, let's call also 2024 this year the love affair with yourself. I mean, finally, once and for all, because we've spent all this time kind of on all that output. And I love, this tool of astrology to help us better understand ourselves.
Totally.
Because I always forget, when I talk to people like you and I, listen to other things, and then I kind of forget, we all get busy and we forget. And then you go, God, I feel so seen or understood, like the dark night of the soul. I had that as my Scorpio. I'm like, okay. And I can roll back to when it happened, like many, a couple of years in years past. And I just think anything that helps us understand ourselves better and help understand the situation is so beautiful, because I think we can all feel like life is an uphill battle there's so much going on, especially right now, women listening, kids applying to college, kids out. We're always worried. We're starting businesses, we're changing careers, we're excelling in our careers, and anything that helps us just understand ourselves better and even gives us a competitive edge and gives a tool for compassion. It's like, everything you said is so, I just hope everybody takes it to heart. And of course, goes out and gets your, the planners. I'm going to be getting that planner for sure, so I can plan out this year. So ladies, like, use this in your planning for the year of all the big goals that everybody has. So instead of, I guess, do the vision board, right? But have this be kind of this underpinning of your vision board for the year, right? So it's actually rooted in reality and what's possible.
I think what happens is we make a vision board and we get really inspired, but then we don't know how to map it to linear time in a way that doesn't feel like it's putting a pin in the balloon. So astrology is kind of it allows you to plan things in chronological time without taking the magic out of it.
Oh, I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Planning in chronological time without taking the magic out of it.
You've got like this little booster. You're like, okay, I guess I'll do this in April. Because that's when my kids are on break. But it's like, is that really the optimal time for you to do that? But you can look at this book and go, oh, okay, it says that in May, there's this window for launching something new. I mean, we write these thinking about someone like us who wants to live their best life, guided with some extra guidance. It's a hack, it's a shortcut. It's like plant in fertile, so you don't plant seeds in the winter time, you plant them in prime condition. So we're helping you know when to grow different plants and seeds so that it actually can have a chance to take root, because there's nothing sadder than someone having an incredible idea or dream, and then they go and they put it into form in the wrong time, and then they think there's something wrong with their idea. and they give up on it, but it still haunts them. I mean, you and I, I'm sure both have at least one of those, right?
Oh yeah, we all do, right? And it's also making me think of that analogy of, back when I don't know, I just have been with my husband for 27 years, so I haven't dated for a really long time, but those times when you'd have times of like, whatever you looked like, I just all of a sudden men are coming out of the woodwork, whatever. Other times you're like, what is happening? Do I have a wart on the middle of my forehead? So I think it's with everything, or like how sometimes business has flowed. And other times you're like, I have changed nothing and nothing's working, but it helps kind of root it in something else versus it's me or it's the thing or what have you. Cause I think it can apply to all aspects of life, or how relationships can flow at certain times, all of it. This is so
Yeah.
fascinating, Ophi.
I mean, and that's the thing, like with what you're saying, when things don't go our way, especially as women, our tendency is just to turn on ourselves. And like what you said, when you feel invisible, I'll be like, okay, what's in my 12th house? Of course. I mean, I'm not just making it up. I'll be like, or like all of a sudden I have this burst of energy in December, and Mars, which is the energy planet, is in my sign, Sagittarius. I'm like, I also started taking vitamin D and some supplements. I'm joking. I'm like, is it the supplements? Is it the Mars? Is it both? But I don't really care. Whatever's working is working. Like, well, I'll take it all. But I'm not at all surprised that I'm this energized with Mars in my sign. And I know that, and if like when it's in Pisces later in the year, I'll probably take a little time out or plan for that, because things are not going to be as public and outward. So you can strike while the iron is hot.
Oh God, I love all of it. I could talk to you for 5 hours. Uh, but we're going to link the books and all your resources and everything in the show notes, because everybody needs to definitely run out and get the planner, if anything, at minimum. Like, we all need this planner for this year so we can be planning appropriately based on what's going to be true for us and our signs. Yes. I just have a couple final questions before I let you go, but I don't want to let you go, but I guess I have to. And I like to always
like
ask,
a true Scorpio.
like a true Scorpio. And let me just ask you selfishly one thing. I always joke, I'm like the Scorpio, hard on the outside, but I'm just soft as goo on the inside. Like, my kids always laugh. It's like, who's going to be crying all the time at the commercial, the sending you off to prom, your last day of school, God knows, at graduation. And my husband has always said that about me. He's like, you might seem hard on the outside, but you're just a ball of goo on the inside. So maybe it's that you said it with the crab too, with Cancer.
Yes,
so maybe that's
the
our
scorpion shell. I mean, I think anyone with a Scorpio mom is so lucky, because they will cut a bitch for their kids. They are fiercely, I mean, you want a Scorpio on your side. I've got 4 planets in Scorpio, so I've been lucky enough to bond with a lot of Scorpio women, and I'm like, there's no one more loyal or protective or badass. Like, sure, they can intimidate people, but like, yeah, I know that's because they love so fiercely and they bond with people. Scorpio bonds. So that if a bond is ripped away from you, it's going to be painful. So you're not going to just bond with anyone, because it's for life.
Oh my God, you just explained me. Like, I just love everyone and I'm just a cheerleader for everyone. And when I tell people, I'm just so wildly happy about people's success. Like, it's just the damn truth. And I truly do. I meet people and fall in love every day. I swear to God. I'm like, you're my new best friend. Like, I love you. How can I help you? And it's true about cutting a bitch, Scorpio. Like, I'll cut my husband too. Like, I had words with him when these kids were little too about, like, make no mistake. One of my kids got lost in the park in Golden Gate Park, and I said, make no mistake, you come home without one of my kids, you're out, honey.
Oh yeah,
we're done.
6 feet under, because
like you're done, and I will throw you in front of a bus to save somebody. So,
well, exactly.
I'm saying this with love, but just so we're clear. Oh my God. Okay, couple final questions for you, because this is a show about women in midlife and we support women in midlife. I would love to know what you wish for women in midlife.
That is a great question. Oh, I just wish that they fall in love with who they are. If they haven't had an astrology reading or discovered the code to themselves yet, please do your chart, because you are designed perfectly. And, I have a personal vendetta against the hype that tells women that like you're lonely when you're by yourself, or you need like take up your space, claim your space. Like what this whole idea that being with yourself equals loneliness. Like a lot of women at midlife have an empty nest. I even hate that phrase, but like, it's not empty. Guess what? She's fucking in the nest. It's not empty. That's how much we get invalidated. Like, fill that nest with all of your feathers and lay some eggs for yourself. So, like, get into the awesomeness of being who you are and surround yourself with other women to make some friends of different age groups too. We got to bust up this generational divide. It's just a bunch of BS. It's not even, I mean, yes, we have different experiences of life because of the technology and pop culture references, but it's just the newest version of it. So, um, yeah, find a good midlife lady crew, but then also mingle up and down the age escalator too.
I love that. Mingle up and down the age escalator. You are dropping some serious bombs today, Ophi. Like, I love that because we can learn from everyone. And it makes life so much more rich to get out of. You have your crew that sort of supports you, whatever, but to get out of that zone and meet people of all ages, I love that. It's brilliant. It keeps us fresh and it keeps our perspectives open to new things. I love it. Final question before my final. What do you think the best thing is about being in midlife?
Just the wisdom that you have, and am I allowed to drop another F-bomb? My hair.
Hello.
Why am I asking for permission? I'm in midlife, not asking for permission, but my hairdresser was a Joe Blackwell of 30 years practically. She's been doing my hair. When I turned 50, she said, welcome to the decade of not giving a fuck. And I was like, that sounds good. So I think you have so much to offer, and you just have to make sure you're around people that affirm that to you. But like, just so much freedom and fun and like permission. The permission slip is signed, sealed, and delivered. I
Yes,
think.
ma'am.
I hope.
Oh, it is. It is. It's like, and so it is. It's already done.
Mm-hmm.
It's already done. So I want you to finish the sentence. I'm not too fucking old too.
Let me think about that one because there's so many things. Be eternally youthful in an age appropriate way.
I love that. And you get to determine whatever your age appropriate is.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm not too fucking old to just start anything I want. I mean, my mom became a rabbi at 55. My aunt moved to a new town and became the arts commissioner in her 50s. Like, you're really not too fucking old to do anything that you want. And with astrology, you always get a new, fresh start. There's always a new cycle. It's always a fresh chapter and beginning. And that's what I love about it too, so much.
Oh, I love it. I love everything you've said today. Thank you so much for being here. So, final, tell us where we can find you, get all the things, and get more steeped in your fabulous knowledge.
Absolutely. So I'm AstroTwins on Instagram. That's the social media platform I prefer the most, and that at the moment. Um, and astrostyle.com is my website. That's where you can get to all of our books, our courses, free daily, weekly, and monthly horoscopes that are written in a really empowering, practical, applicable way. And just you can find our events. Oh, we also have just launched the AstroTwins Network on the Fireside platform, it's called. So that is a live interactive network. We go live weekly. You can come on and ask us questions, learn about your chart one bite at a time. So if you're curious about, starting to manifest with astrology, being able to ask about what's going on live, and then also just really do want to learn your chart in a way that's not overwhelming, we're going to be doing that all 2024 and hopefully beyond. So it's kind of like an Oprah's studio meets Peloton meets OnlyFans meets astrology. No sex though, at least not as of now. So just kidding.
Yeah, we'll see how things go. I'm just kidding.
We'll see how things go. That might be another network. Yeah.
TBD.
You're not too fucking old to do that either if you want.
Exactly. Right? I love it. There's so many resources there. So everybody avail yourself of everything Ophi just mentioned, and let's get our planners and let's have a fabulous year planned by the stars. Yes. Thank you so much for being here. I just adore you. I love everything that you and your sister are doing. And just thank you for caring and sharing all this valuable information to us. And I don't want to let you go, but I have to let you go. But I know I get to see you soon.
Yes. And thank you for championing women at midlife. I'm so happy that this exists. So, yay.
Thanks, Sophie.
Happy 2024.